but I do believe there's been a strong calling for me to serve for some reason. God wants me here in the political realm. And I think it's because we just need ordinary people, right? Authenticity. You know, someone who's really people driven. And people always say that about me, that, you know, you're just a real person that's in politics, and we need more of that. So glad to be here.
What up, though, Black Friday family? Welcome back to another installment of the Black Fridays podcast. Before we get into today's episode, make sure that you hit that subscribe button here on YouTube and that you follow us on all major streaming platforms. Now that we got that business out of the way, today I have an extremely special guest today, someone who has dedicated their life and career for improving and making the people of the city of Detroit have a much better life and livelihood. Detroit City Council President and Mayoral candidate, Mary Sheffield. How you doing today?
What up, though?
What up, though?
I like how you opened up. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us on the platform today.
Thank you.
If you don't mind, I would love to be able to start from where this whole thing began, because in doing my research, it seems that with the family dynamic that you grew up in terms of having civic engagement leaders with your grandfather and your father, and then also your mother serving people in the form of the medical profession as a nurse. Would you say that you were kind of like born to serve people or service people?
You took it right out my mouth. Literally. You did your research. Seriously. No, that's exactly what happened. I really believe I was born to serve. And I mean, there's nothing else that I can think that I could be doing than serving Detroit. I have over an 80-year legacy of my family serving Detroit, starting back to civil rights and social justice work that my great-grandfather started, that has carried down to my father. And as you mentioned, my mother teaching me compassion through education and nursing. I just grew up in a servant leadership household that our life was about how to make other people's lives better and how we care for the most vulnerable in our community, how to be a voice for the voiceless. And so that was what was instilled upon me. That's how I was molded. And I never thought that I would run for office. I will say that. Okay. That was never like something that I wanted to do as a kid. It was more so understanding, like coming from like such a social justice background and understanding the intersection of policy and social and activism. And then when the opportunity presented itself, when we moved by council districts, was the first time we've ever had in the city of Detroit. It allowed me the opportunity to run in a small area and have the opportunity to be elected. And so made history at 26. And ever since then, I've been serving and I've enjoyed every moment of it.
Now, before that moment, in terms of when you started on city council, I wanted to take a quick step back, because I know that even at the age of 14, you were became an ordained minister. So I wanted to know, that's very young age to become in ministry, but overall, because that's another part of service. When did it hit you that it was your thing to serve? Because, you know, sometimes at that age, teenagers are rebellious, like, that's the family thing. I want to do my thing over here. Like, when did it hit you like, okay, I know this is for me? So
it took me a while to figure out my space and my voice, but I've always had a passion for people. I started mentoring young girls at a young age. I started in ministry. I have a deep roots in the church, and my spirituality is everything to me. It's my foundation. And so I preached for a very long time as a young adult. And I still do now, to be quite honest. When people invite me out, I preach. But it took a while to really find my space. And like I told you, I think for me, I started working on a couple of campaigns, and then my dad was like, you know, you should think about running for office. And I was like, okay, well, you know, let me look into it. So I kind of looked into it a little bit, and I ran for state representative at the time, knew absolutely nothing. It was 17 people in the race, and I ended up losing that race by 7 votes out of 17 people. And it exposed me to a lot. And it showed me that, wow, this is actually a path you may be good at. The fact that it was that many people, you were the youngest in the race, maybe you should consider it. And for me, it was a lot of fear. I didn't know much about politics. I didn't feel like, you know, my voice would be respected. All of the things that we go through when you're being called to do something. And I pushed through it, and here I am today. But I think, again, it took a lot of trial and error. I think, you know, I'm not confined to just public office, I have so many other passions. I talked about mentorship. I talked about, I love speaking, doing graduations and empowering young people. And so I try to explore all of the different facets of who I am. But I do believe there's been a strong calling for me to serve. For some reason, God wants me here in the political realm. And I think it's because we just need ordinary people, right? Authenticity. You know, someone who's really people driven. And people always say that about me, that, you know, you're just a real person that's in politics, and we need more of that. So glad to be here.
I agree with that, because that's one of my personal gripes that I go back and forth with in terms of politics, because just in my experience in the city of Detroit and politics at the larger scale, it seems to be a lot of times a power play for people, an opportunity for me to be able to flex my muscles. I did X, Y, and Z. I made so much money. Now let me go, you know, flex my muscles over here. But there are people out there that are the grassroots and the organizers and the people who are doing it for the community, being a voice of the community, that I always want to try to empower. That's why, you know, I started this platform, and any chance that I get, try to empower those folks. And like you said, we need more of that and less of the earlier part of what I said.
Yes, because I mean, if you're in it for the wrong reason, you know, and that's what traditionally politics has been. And to be honest with you, I mean, growing up in high school, I didn't really follow politics like that. You know, a lot of people think because I come from this legacy family and that I'm in office, that it was like something that I thought about at a young age and that I was like intimately involved in. And I completely was disconnected, because you don't see people like myself in office. I was not represented, right? And so that was another reason why I ran, was because Black women, especially young women, were underrepresented in politics. And I wanted people to see ourselves in that space. And I agree with you. Having someone that's truly grassroots driven, unapologetically about the people's agenda, willing to challenge the status quo in public office is rare. And when we do have somebody that is in that position, we have to keep them there. And it's not easy, because I've always challenged, and believe me, I've stood alone, and it has not been easy. In fact, I'm going through some things now running for mayor, because I've challenged business so much that it's like, oh, she's anti-business. She's not going to be good for Detroit, because my record has always been so pro-people. But I think, again, coming from where I come from, I think I bring a healthy balance, right, of being able to be grassroots driven, community driven, people centered, but also understanding how to navigate and represent really both, and bridging the two together.
1,000%.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna have some fun on Black Fridays.
Okay, good.
I want to introduce you to my favorite part, which is Freestyle Fridays. So
don't have me freestyle, please.
I mean, I saw you DJing, so you might have to give us a couple bars.
Okay.
It might determine the election. You never know.
Okay.
No, I'm messing with you.
I got one for you.
You got.
Might just run from there. Put that on Mary Sheffield. You knew I was gonna do it.
I knew you was gonna do it for sure. But Freestyle Fridays is just a random assortment of questions. We just ask you to answer each one and answer honestly.
Okay.
All right. So, what was the first thing that went to your mind when you heard that bar by Big Sean?
Wow, I was so surprised. I was in complete shock. I had the video when I played it, because I was just like, what? He shouted me out. I was running around the office. I was very excited. And honestly, it was just what I needed, because this campaign has been difficult. I am embarking on a journey that has never been done. Right? I will be the first Black female woman, first woman as well, mayor of Detroit. It's never happened in the history of Detroit. And so it is a lot of challenges that I'm dealing with, but to have people like him that I've worked with and the community support who believe in me and see something in me as that voice, as the leadership that is needed, it just gives me so much inspiration to keep pushing through it. So when I'm in my down days, I just turn it on, I gotta get going. Big Sean believing in me, I gotta keep it going. You know, and he just gave me the song of the campaign that I needed. You know, so I'm just grateful for it. And I was just so humble, because I read his book recently, and he talked about how his whole mission now through his music is to inspire other people, right? You know what I mean? It's more about just putting out music. He wants to have an impact. And he literally did that in my life just by dropping my name in his song, right? He gave me what I needed to get by.
That was huge. Yeah, love that. So are you a pizza person? You like pizza?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. Who would you say has the best pizza in the city?
The best pizza, Buddies or Jets.
That's what I'm talking about. People be disrespecting Jets.
Oh,
they need to stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or I love Buddies too.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
So describe the perfect day for us. And when I mention day, I mean that you are off. You're not working on campaign stuff, not working on city council stuff. You have the day off. Like, what is your perfect day?
A perfect day for me is absolutely no commitments. Like, my calendar is cleared. I can sleep in, go on a good walk with my fiance. I got engaged last year.
Congratulations.
So spending time with him, some good laughs, a good dinner or a good meal, just really relaxing, either with family or with him, with friends, and just chilling. I love spending time to myself, connecting with me and peace and silence and things of that sort. But I would say right now, in the midst of all that's happening, a day with no commitments where I can just chill would be a good day.
That's what's up. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I saw somewhere that you had made a commitment to basically move your body every day at some point in time, either get a workout in, some type of exercise. Yep. What inspired that regimen?
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I've had a difficult journey with health. I don't think I learned at a young age how, proper nutrition, how to eat right. And so my weight over the years has fluctuated up and down, up and down, up and down. And I think it's a journey, right? And so for me, I've just learned the importance of trying my hardest to nourish myself with foods that make me feel good. And working out is a tremendous part of my mental health, just to be honest with you. Like, if I don't move, I just feel like I have to, just to keep me stable in my mental space. So it's just a part of me, being the best version of myself is trying to keep my body moving. And I think it contributes to my overall mental well-being as well.
I can identify with that. I got the workout part down pat. Like, I'll work out 5 days a week now, but I hooked up with a nutritionist recently, and then I realized how quickly and how easy it is to overeat. And you just think like, oh, I'm just grabbing something quick or whatever. And then you they ate 4,000 calories in a day.
Exactly. And my bad eating habits, I think sometimes are carried down from my family. Never really taught how to really eat right. And it's a trial and error. I had to learn myself too. But really, it's just listening to your body, trying to make better decisions. No one's perfect. But ultimately, I also now, for me, it's like, how do I feel after I eat certain things? Because I will tell you, I want some sweets, but after I eat it, it's like, you know what I'm saying? But when I'm eating healthy, I have the energy and I feel a lot more present and just in a good space.
It's different as an adult because, I remember I went to Cass and we walked to that corner store and be getting honey buns and all types of stuff. It's nothing. And then you grow up and you're like, nah, honey bun might take me out.
Exactly. It will take you out for sure. So true.
If politics were not on the table and you weren't serving the people in that way, what would you do? What would be your career?
I would probably be doing something in the space of youth empowerment and mentorship for young girls. I started a nonprofit, not a nonprofit, but a mentoring program, what we call Detroit Girls of Destiny, where I mentor young girls on purpose, on finding their purpose in life, or discovering it, I should say. And so I'm a very purpose-driven person. I'm all about trying to empower people to be the highest and best version of themselves. So we'll probably be in a space of empowering young women and men, and doing some nonprofit work through DABO, which is my father's organization, Detroit Association of Black Organizations. And then speaking. I love speaking. So whether it's, starting my own conferences where I create empowerment sessions and I go out and speak. I've always had the ability to inspire in a lot of ways through public speaking. I wish I could hone in on it more, but I will probably be doing something in that regard. It's all about empowerment for me. I love empowering and inspiring people.
That's dope. Yeah. That's dope. Yeah. Well, thank you for partaking in Freestyle Fridays.
I like that.
You passed successfully.
I enjoyed that.
Absolutely. And I want to go back into asking you about your political journey. So you were the youngest person to be elected to Detroit City Council at 26. And I really want to know if you could take us back to that 26-year-old young lady and that time period, because at that time frame, if you know anything about the city of Detroit, they were still getting their itch together at that time frame and bouncing back. And that was kind of like the beginning or the curve of the bounce back, so to speak. But you stepping into that space and then given the dynamics, you said you weren't huge on politics. So what was that like for you as a 26-year-old?
Yeah, I think it was challenging. I think it was more internal challenges than anything, like convincing myself that I could do it, right? I also think that it was post Kwame era. So every door I knocked on, especially our seniors, well, yeah, we already had a young person.
Right.
And look what happened.
Right.
I don't know if we're ready again for another young person. I'm like, well, I'm not him. I'm myself, you know? So I had to prove myself in that sense too. So it was a lot of people who were skeptical of a young leader again, taking office. And, yeah, I think it was more internal dialogue, you know, negative beliefs that I may have had and fear that I had to overcome, that maybe I wasn't ready, I wasn't capable or able at the time. But I think ultimately it was a lot of long nights where I just knew that this is what God had called me to do. And I'm very big in purpose. And when it's something that God has ordained you to do, purpose will open up doors that no man can close. And I will tell you, I worked extremely hard, and I do, like, the person that ran against me, if you put his resume next to mine, he was qualified. He had a Ivy League degree. I mean, this guy, and he was in politics. Yeah. But I think people saw in me, you know, someone who was really hungry for it. They saw my heart, they saw my passion. And I think, honestly, they saw the purpose there and the authenticity. And that's something that a degree can never give you, right? It's just the realness that is there. And so worked extremely hard. I studied as much as I could on issues, and I tried to lead with my heart and with compassion. And I think, well, I know the residents saw that, and that's why they elected me at the age of 26 to make history.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I know at 26, around that time frame, I'm kind of fresh in my career and getting out of college, and I leaned heavily on mentors, people that kind of helped guide me through high school and things like that. For you, who do you feel like were people around you that helped kind of, even though you had your internal struggles, was kind of there to let you know or kind of give you some guidance, like, hey, this is, you can do this, like, and this is how you can. Yeah,
it was two people. You probably won't know their names. One, he was a former state rep. His name was Virgil Smith. And there's another gentleman named L.B.J. Williams. Those were two big mentors for me at that time, who were like, they just knew all about politics and really helped me navigate a lot. My dad was a big mentor for me. My mom and my grandma helped me navigate it. But I would say those two individuals really exposed me a lot to how politics works. You know, how you run a campaign, the grassroots game, the door knocking game, how you fundraise, how you get signatures to get on the ballot, like really showing me how to run a campaign from the grassroots level. Chanel Jackson, she was a former state representative as well. I used to look up to her. She was a young Black state rep that I just thought was bad. She was pretty, she dressed well, she was smart. I'm like, wow. So I used to look to some of those elected officials and people in our community who kind of knew the game, and they kind of guided me a lot as well.
Love it. And you've been serving on city council. I believe you're elected 2013 and started
2013, started 2014.
2014. Yep. So you've been on council since 2014. You've seen a lot of things and over a decade, the city's transformation. What has that ride been like for you in terms of, like, city council? I was going to say it changed every year. It changed every so often.
Every 4 years.
Every 4 years. So it's different players. That's a part of that, and a different team to be on. So what has that been like, just the overall experience of working? You know,
overall, it's been well. It's been a challenge sometimes, though, when you see things that you want to change, but you can't. I think sometimes I get so involved in this work that it can wear on you, because, like, you really care, right? For people, you see injustice. You see that there are people who are hurting. You see that there's programs that can benefit people that may not be getting to them, right? You see our budget, and we're like, why are we spending money here when we have a group of individuals here that need it? And so I think that's been the greatest challenge, is like, you know, understanding that there's a huge need and not being able to address all of them in my position has probably been the most challenging thing. Laws that I've tried to pass that I've not been able to pass because of state law that preempts me from doing it, or some of the various political challenges that we have to face. So that will probably be, I would say, the greatest challenge for me, is I get so intimately connected and in this work that it can wear on you because you care, right? You deeply care about trying to change people's lives. And sometimes that can be a challenge. But for the most part, I would say it's been a great ride. I'm very proud of what I've been able to do. I have over 20 pieces of legislation that I've approved that has directly impacted people's lives. So when I see people, it was a young girl I worked out with at Orange Theory, and she stopped me. She said, it was because of you that I got the affordable housing unit in this new development in downtown Detroit.
That's fire.
So when I hear stories like, oh my gosh, I got the neighborhood beautification grant and now I was able to beautify my community. Or now I'm in my home thanks to Right to Counsel, which gave me a free attorney so that I don't have to be evicted from my home. I mean, so many different cases and examples of stories where my work has directly impacted their lives. And that is the energy that I feed off of. But again, there's so much need in our community. So many people who are in need of help and empowerment and resources and direction. And you can't solve it all. But as somebody that's elected, you kind of feel the weight of the responsibility of trying to solve everything. And so I think that's always been a challenge.
What's the craziest thing somebody has ran down on you for in terms of you being on city council? Because I know they stop you every chance, every time they see you. But I want to know, like, what's the wildest thing that come to mind?
Like that. What do you mean? Like they have asked me to do for them,
like
or
it
just
could be something crazy, like it's too much bubble gum up under this table.
That's a good one, right? Oh my God, the crazy. It's so many different things. I mean, we get blamed for everything on council. I mean, light bills, DTE, and it's like we don't set the rates for those things.
Right.
But I mean, it's so many different things. I don't even want to start trying to guess, but we get calls and blamed for everything. I think people think that council can address everything. So I try my hardest, if we can't do it, to navigate and direct them to the appropriate, resources or people who can. But you'll be surprised the type of calls and things. I mean, I get a lot of emails and letters from people who are incarcerated, who are looking for support there.
That's real.
People who are trying to get cases dismissed, or people out of jail and child support cases. I mean, all types of things. I couldn't even begin to try to give you examples. It's a lot of them. Okay. A lot.
Anybody ask you try to get them a Camaro or nothing like that?
Oh no, they never try yet. But I will say, to that point, people have, hey, I got kicked out of my house. Can you get me a home?
Anything.
My roof is falling apart. I need access to a new roof. So people do look to you for those things as well too, for sure.
As long as they ask for something real and not just like, Mary, I need another gold chain.
Right. I need a gold chain. No.
So your district is District 5.
Yes.
What can you tell the people who are not familiar with either the district system? Because for me, I still, be trying to envision the map.
Exactly.
I think I got it now. But what can you tell people about District 5, or things that you want people to know about District 5? District
5 is the epicenter of culture, entertainment, education. It literally has all of our hospitals, the DMC. It has our historical institutions, the Charles Wright Museum. We have some of the most affluent neighborhoods, Boston Edison, Indian Village. And then we also have historical areas like Mack and Bewick. We have some new upcoming areas like the Villages over on the east side off of Van Dyke. So it's so rich and unique. Black Bottom in Paradise Valley is in District 5. So we have, in a greater part, a large portion of downtown is also in District 5 as well too. So we have, I think, some of the best in Detroit, and we have some of the most affluent areas, but we also have a combination of some lower income areas as well too. So for me, it's been an honor to serve because I get a little bit of all of it. I love being able to support those who oftentimes feel voiceless and disconnected from government or just the marginalized in our community. And so I'm glad that I have a portion of people in Detroit who oftentimes feel neglected, so I can be their voice as well too. But District 5 is dope. It's an amazing area of Detroit. It's the lower east side of Detroit. It goes as far west to Dexter and Linwood area, and as far east from Jefferson to Connor. So we have a little bit of everything in the middle of District 5.
And I grew up on 14th and Leslie. When I grew up over there,
District 5.
So I lived there in high school. So I lived there for my high school years, and then I grew up primarily in District 1.
Okay.
And so in terms of, I love to see the revitalization that's happening in the Dexter Linwood area. So I got a homie that live over there, and we've been meaning to go to some of the new coffee shops and spots over there. And I love to see it because growing up over there, that wasn't the case.
It was not.
That was not the case. So
it wasn't the case 10 years ago when I got to council.
Exactly.
Yep. So I'm proud of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you take it, being on city council, and then you take it a step further. further and become the president of city council. So could you break down for us the roles and responsibilities of a city council president, at least for the city of Detroit?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the same. The only difference is that I preside over the formal session. And so I'm not assigned to any committees, which I typically would have as a council member. But now I preside over the formal session, and I am the administrative branch. So we have the managerial and administrative function of all of the city council offices. So I oversee all of the staff for all of the council offices. And we literally are the administrative kind of arm of city council. So that's really the only difference. I still vote like everyone else does. I still have one vote. Nothing else changes there. It's just that I pretty much preside over the overall convening of all 9 members. I set the agenda as well to ensure that all of the proper referrals are going to the appropriate committees, and lead the formal session on Tuesdays.
And I believe that the way that the structure is set up, if there was any reason that the mayor wasn't able to perform their duties, you are next in line.
You automatically ascend to the mayor's office. Yep.
Do you feel like the weight of that at all? Or is it just kind of like, you continue to do your due diligence as a council member?
Never really thought about that in a sense that I would think I would have to step in. I think more recently those conversations have come up with Mayor Duggan now announcing his candidacy for governor.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of talk that, he may leave early. And so I just went and asked him. I said, if you do leave, I will hope we can have a conversation. I want to make sure I'm prepared. But he's been very outspoken and very transparent that he's not leaving, that he's going to finish his term. So if he didn't, I would be prepared to do so.
Yeah.
But
And I think that, I'm not sure, you can fact check me on this, you probably know better than I do, but the only instance of that is when Kwame left office, when that actually became the situation.
Yep. You did your research. You got it.
I'm trying.
I like it. Very prepared.
And also another thing I had thought of earlier, because the fact that you are chasing after history and will be able to create that, is that it wasn't that long ago that we started getting Black mayors. And so Mayor Duggan was the difference or the exception to that.
Yeah.
But I believe it started with Coleman A. Young.
Yes,
and then
it did.
Prior to that, nobody that looked like us, and it's not anybody that has sat in that seat that looks like you, being a woman. So now, switching gears, I want to talk about your candidacy in terms of running for mayor. And like, when did that become apparent to you? I know it's speculation for a little bit of time of when you would and if you would and how that worked out. But I would like to know, from the person themselves, when did that become a true thought? Like, you know what, that's the move.
I probably started to really think about it after my first term. My first term was fully about like learning things, trying to get settled in, trying to actually deliver for my residents who elected me. I wasn't thinking about mayor at all. It really started, I think, after the first term, and people saw my leadership like, you could be the mayor. People would start saying like, you really should think about it. You could really become the mayor of Detroit at some point. We are proud of what you've done, what you're doing. And then I think my second term, when I became the pro tem, and I got more things done for Detroit, and I was also able to see how important the mayor actually plays and setting the tone in Detroit and like really creating priorities. Like, that's a very serious position. The mayor could say, hey, as development comes, don't even come here unless you're going to go do a joint venture with a Detroit-based business. Like he sets that culture. Yeah. The mayor does. And so I started to see how important, I used to get frustrated. Like, man, like, that's a very powerful and important position to ensure equity and inclusion for Detroiters. And so I started to understand the importance of it more, my limitations as a council member, that at some point I'm going to reach my pinnacle here and what I can do. Started to hear more talk in the streets. People wanted me to run last term so bad. People have been waiting and wanting, like, you should really think about running for mayor. And it took me a while to like really sleep on it, think about it. Like, is this something I really want to do? And God gave me the yes. God gave me the yes. And some of it is, I thought about, who else was running. I thought about the time that we're in, and I could not see anyone else doing it the way I believe it should be done. primarily with that focus on empowering people, ensuring that the growth and prosperity touches more people, that we're creating more generational wealth, investing in our entrepreneurs so that they can grow and scale. Like all of the things that I think sometimes we're missing the needle on, we have the opportunity to really shed light on now in the next 5 to 10 years. So it came from the community. I started to take it seriously over time as I developed and grown and have been able to grow in politics. And I'm excited to be here in this moment.
What is it like getting prepared for a political campaign, and then now that you're in the midst of it, actually operating a political campaign? Because in my mind, it's just a bunch of craziness and all types of stuff going on, crazy schedule, which I can only imagine. But, you know, to hear from somebody who's actually doing it.
It's rough. And I think it's even more challenging because there's never been a council person that has ever ascended to the mayor's office either.
Oh, really?
Never. There's never been a formal...
Based on my research, yes, that makes sense.
And I can see why too, right? Because it's like, I'm still the council president, so I'm still trying to manage that job while also running a campaign. So I say that to say it's definitely challenging. It's a busy time. I'm trying to make sure that I'm accessible to everyone, that I'm hands-on, because that's just naturally who I am, and I want to always be like that. But you know, this is what I signed up for. And so I try to enjoy the process. I'm trying to learn as much as I can as I go through it. And more importantly, I'm present and kind of like hearing what people have to say, because throughout the campaign, you learn so much. Like you really know the needs and what you should be addressing as mayor, because you're everywhere in Detroit. You're hearing directly from people. So I'm really trying to absorb what I'm hearing, and more importantly, how I'm going to respond to those concerns and issues that people are raising. So it's been a challenge. I'm learning balance. I'm learning how to get rest. I'm learning how to, you know, boundaries and, you know, what I should say yes to, what I should say no to, but really just how to enjoy it. I want to enjoy this. And that's what I'm learning how to do.
It's a special time for sure.
Special time, historic time.
Exactly. What are the things that you would be able to do for the city that you wouldn't be able to do as mayor, that you can't do currently as city council president?
So I think, you know, just overall, it's going to be about prioritization of certain priorities in Detroit, whether it be more of a focus on creating home ownership, starting from the top down. You really set that tone, like, okay, we as a city want to invest more in infill housing that creates more paths to home ownership, creating down payment assistance program. Like I'm in these rooms now, right, with our partners and saying, now we have a shift in focus. We're not going to be focused now, for example, on multifamily rentals. Let's have a greater focus on creating homeowners in Detroit. So I think there's so much more latitude and room as far as creating that vision that I think is important. What I'm excited to do is really have a greater impact in the area of housing for sure. I want to focus on how we raise Detroiters' incomes. You know, we have too many people in Detroit that are living in poverty. And I think that we have to do a better job of ensuring that we're investing in people. So I'm excited about that. And then also, really, I want Detroit to be the greatest city in the country to grow and start a business. And I think we have a lot of attention on big business, big corporations. You know, we have the DEGC, and oftentimes big business navigates that and they get the support that they need. But entrepreneurs and small business owners don't have that ecosystem and that support that I believe that they need as well. And so I want Detroit, again, to be a place where it's like, hey, you come here, you can grow and start a business like this because we're making it easier. We're providing access to capital. We're giving you the support that is needed to thrive and to grow. So I have a vision of creating an office of small business affairs that will ensure that the ecosystem is there to support small businesses in Detroit, and excited about a lot of the work that we can do that is people focused, community focused, and empowering people to be the best.
So with that being said, I know that you mentioned that people feel like you have been tough on businesses because you're not afraid to push the envelope. Why do you think that interpretation is based on what you just said? It seems like you actually have a plan.
Mary means business. I am very pro-business. I am pro-growth. I know that business needs people and people need business. It doesn't have to be silos. And I think that's how it's operated in Detroit for so long. If you're pro-people, you're against business. Or if I'm pro-business, I'm anti-people. No, you can be both. What I've done is I've challenged business in the sense that as there are larger projects coming to Detroit and you're getting tax breaks.
Yeah.
I want to know, what are you going to do for Detroiters? Are you going to help scale other entrepreneurs? Are you going to partner and do joint ventures? And so I think that has always been my challenge, is what is the return on investment for these larger projects and ensuring that Detroiters are benefiting? Because, we'll continue to see huge investment come to Detroit, but not creating a pathline and a pipeline for others to grow and to scale. And so that's really always been my pushback, or my way to challenge kind of big business in Detroit.
I would love to be able to get your thoughts on this, because my theory is that just in terms of for the millennial demographic, and demographics in general, I think that we live in a day and age where, reliant on your 9 to 5 is not enough. And so I think that what you're talking about in terms of home ownership or, real estate, and getting more opportunities and access to that. And then also business, being able to have something that you own is a way to be able to be more economically adapt. Do you agree with that? Or do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I definitely agree. I think, times have changed. Everyone's not going to a traditional 4-year institution for a college degree. And I think we have to adapt with the changing in times. And we have to provide a myriad of ways to educate and to cultivate, more importantly, the gifts and talents of our young people. I mean, when we think about most of our millennials or young folks, they get educated, they go to school, and they leave for New York, Chicago, and LA, which to me, I'm like, Detroit is way doper. I'm sorry.
Correct. Yeah, that's a fact.
But the opportunity is not necessarily here. I hear about, I go to Chicago, they love me, they open up the doors, there's support, there's an ecosystem there that wraps their arms around people to ensure that they succeed. And that has to happen in Detroit. And so, yes, I think that we have to provide various options for Detroiters and our young people. Whether it be home ownership, whether it be how to grow and start a business, and really changing the mindset to not just be a consumer and to work for someone, but entrepreneurship is an option. Skilled trades is an option. Those are great careers that young people need to get more into. So again, it's about outreach. It's about connecting young people to those resources and giving them what they need.
You're very adamant about being able to provide young folks with resources and opportunities. Where does that come from for you? I identify with that because I've mentored and worked with young people, because I know that selfishly these are next leaders. So I want them. I want to be on their side.
Exactly.
But overall, that's just been kind of in my nature, because I know the people have poured into me, and I wish I had more mentors like them when I was coming up. So try to be that example for those young folks. But for you, where does that come from?
I think the same, for sure, the same. And then as the youngest ever elected to council, I always felt that it was my duty and my responsibility to also advocate for and to represent for young people, and to ensure that, hey, we are reaching people where they are. Which is why I started Occupy the Corner, which was the first of its kind in Detroit, literally. I mean, it's like the best neighborhood block club party, empowerment, event where we have Skilla Baby and we've had Jeezy, Mike Epps. I mean, all of these celebrities come out, and we're really just bridging the gap. We're connecting people with city resources. You can come there, get a job, connect with home repair grants, utility assistance, have a good time, and connect with city government all at the same time, right? So that is my approach, is like, we have to be innovative in how we reach young people. And it's a passion of mine, because I believe, like you say, our young people are not just the future, but today. They are today. And
you are very intentional about being able to connect that culture, especially Detroit culture, in terms of the political engagements that we have in the city. Where does that come from also? Because, I mean, that hasn't been the tradition of politics in Michigan or Detroit, but now we're starting to see that synergy.
Man, I feel like when I started doing it, it was no one doing it. But I guess it's a part of the culture. It was a part of who I am too. I mean, I'm a millennial. I like hip hop, you know, and so I never wanted to shy away from who I was. And so naturally for me, it was, again, how can we get the ear and the attention of young people? And oftentimes they listen to, these are the people that they listen to. And so once we get your attention, now we're going to talk how we can get you involved and get you the help that you need. And so I think it was just a natural thing for me. I started to reach out to some of the artists that I know. And over the years, it just became a natural thing about giving back to the community and using our artists here in Detroit to help bridge that gap.
I know you got some of those artists. I believe you, I want to get the name of the board wrong, but I think you have like a millennial advisory board or something along those lines.
We have a youth coalition for the campaign.
Okay.
But we plan on forming a youth commission for when I'm in the mayor's office as well.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And so how is it, was it important for you to be able to have that consistent voice in terms of what's the pulse of the city and our young people in that generation, given the fact that you would be aiming to start that coalition?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was always like young people want to be involved. They want to not be talked at or someone to tell them what they need. They can speak for themselves.
Yeah.
And so I've always heard that from young folks. And to be quite honest, they are extremely knowledgeable, extremely smart. It blows my mind when I see even young kids, like how much they know because the world has changed so much and they have access to phones and all these other things. So for me, it's always just been about empowering them as leaders in their own way, making sure that they have a voice and a say so. We started State of the Youth where we go into high schools. I've been doing it for the last 10 years. And we have conversations and we just talk about the issues that they're dealing with. I always bring in influencers and celebrities, local business owners, and we just talk about how they achieve success, some of the barriers that they face, and a plethora of issues that we go over. But it's really to let them know that I hear them, that I see them, that I'm accessible, and that you have someone in office that's trying to advance their quality of life.
And then on the flip side, what about our elders? How do you engage with them? Oh my gosh,
I love our seniors.
You got to.
And I have done a tremendous job at making sure that I advocate for our seniors. In fact, I represent the highest amount of senior citizen buildings in the state of Michigan in my district. So most of my work has been around improving senior housing, ensuring that we're creating more quality housing for our seniors, transportation issues. I'm actually going to launch a senior citizen department that centralizes all of the work for our seniors. But we have to make sure that we look out and care for the elders in our community.
That phone line gonna be going crazy when because you know they don't play.
But they want to be involved.
True.
Like our seniors are like, listen, I want to volunteer.
Yeah.
I want recreation. I want things to do.
This is true.
And we got to do more and provide that more for them.
This is true. Yep. Regardless of what their condition is, if they got to be out there crawling, walking with a walker, like they like, look, I'll be out here with my t-shirt on doing what I got to do. So in terms of the future, what are some things that you're excited about for Detroit? I mean, like we're living in 2025 right now, but I know in the seat that you sit in, you get an advanced look or glimpse at a lot of things that's kind of coming up on the horizon. So as much as you can share, because I know it's probably a bunch you can't talk about, but what are some things you're excited about for the city?
Well, I'm excited about the opportunity. I mean, there's some very large scale events that are forthcoming. I know the Final Four is coming. Hopefully we can get another NFL Super Bowl here in Detroit at some point. Yeah. Some of these larger scale events I think are always great for Detroit in the sense that it allows people to come here and get their own view of what Detroit really is. There's just this negative perception, right? Oh, you go somewhere and travel, you from Detroit. Oh my gosh, you know. But if you come here and you experience it, it's a completely different vibe.
Exactly.
And so I always think that those are great opportunities for people to go out and be advocates and use word of mouth to actually spread the positive things about the city of Detroit. So excited about those things. I think we have a great opportunity to attract more high growth jobs, manufacturing, IT jobs here in Detroit that will provide the opportunities that I believe young people are looking for from a job perspective in the city. And so I'm excited about that and really just creating a world-class city. I mean, Detroit is moving forward. There's growth, there's momentum. It's just how do we sustain it and how do we go a little bit deeper to ensure that more people are included in that growth. So we have a great opportunity to really rebuild and recreate what Detroit is all about. And that's probably what I'm most excited about. But keeping the rich culture of Detroit, right? Not losing sight of, because there's something called the spirit of Detroit, right? That's that statue down there. And that's something that we can never lose. Because if we get all these new fancy buildings and all these new things, but we lose like the spirit of who we are, that's that culture that you talked about. To me, it's all for nothing because that's what separates us. So I'm just excited about the ability to grow and to redevelop and to put Detroit on a national level where it should be as a world-class city.
Yeah. And we can't be a soulless city. We got to keep that flavor that we got.
That
still
flavor. There you go.
Got to step out with them Gators, the Minks, all the above. We still got to hustle every time we hear Tamia. You know, we got to.
Exactly.
We got to keep these in generations.
Exactly.
Because you got started in civic engagement or public service at a younger age, what would you say to people who may be interested in going that track? How would you encourage them to find their footing or explore put a potential career in politics, or even just from a volunteer or grassroots standpoint?
Yeah, I would just say start somewhere. It's never a perfect time. Done is better than perfect. And, just start getting involved in your community. There is probably something that upsets you, something that you're passionate about, whether it's one issue or various issues. And I would kind of start advocacy around that, connecting with block clubs, precinct delegates. There's so many different ways to enter the political field, whether it's running, like I said, for a precinct delegate, the school board, there's commissions, there's so many different ways to get involved. And I think just starting somewhere is the most important thing to do. So, find an issue that you're passionate about and really kind of study it and be a voice in that area. Yeah,
for sure. And find those people who are doing it and try to work with them.
Yeah, exactly. Partnerships and relationships.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So what do you see in your crystal ball? What's on the horizon for you? We know obviously you're active in the campaign, but if there's anything else that you would be able to share with us in terms of what's happening in the world of City Council President Mary Sheffield.
Yeah, well, I'm winding down my last, I should say half of a year on City Council. It's been a true honor and a privilege to serve for over a decade, for 12 years on the City Council. And I want people to know, I'm giving up my seat. Like I could have ran again for council, but I'm vacating my seat to run for mayor. So it's really like all or nothing for me, because I feel that this is what I should be doing. And I'm needed at such a time as this. So giving up my seat on council, running for mayor, and just excited about this opportunity. My vision for Detroit has 7 pillars. I'll just want to leave you with this. Yep. It's really about how we create a destination, a city of opportunity and destination, reclaiming our rightful prominence as a world-class city. And I think it's 7 pillars that are all interconnected to do that. The first one is public safety, and it's ensuring that people feel safe in their communities, that we're empowering communities, not just to reduce crime, but to feel a sense of safety. The second one is going to be housing and affordability for, we talked about earlier, home ownership. The third one for me is neighborhood development, right? We have seen so much investment in downtown and midtown, and there's no doubt that our communities are struggling. Right. And so my priority is going to be how we now rebuild our communities and our neighborhoods to ensure that we have the vibrancy and walkability of our commercial corridors in our neighborhoods. The fourth one is economic well-being. So we talked about how we raise the wages of Detroiters, how we ensuring paths to entrepreneurship and making it easier to grow and scale businesses. But the overall economic well-being of Detroiters is important to me. And then the other one, of course, is our educational system, which we didn't get a chance to talk about. But there's so many families and so many people I meet that are not coming to Detroit because the school system is not good, or they're leaving because it's not conducive for their children. And so we have to do better at strengthening and ensuring that every child has access to quality education. Transportation is also connected to this, right? Yeah. You know, we have some of the highest auto insurance rates, and a lot of people don't even drive. Or if they're driving what they call it, driving dirty.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so
allegedly.
Allegedly, right. So we have to figure out mobility options, and we have to figure out how we create regional transportation throughout our region. And then I talked about, lastly, I don't know if I talked about this, but basic social services and basic needs. So that's for the most vulnerable in our city, the wraparound services that they need to create upward mobility for themselves. So those are the 7 kind of pillars of things that I will focus on as mayor that will always be at the center of what I believe is needed to create a world-class city in Detroit.
Love it. And Detroit will be a world-class city.
Yes, it is.
For sure.
It will be.
For people to stay here and for people to come here. So absolutely love it. And where can the people find you? If they want to support the campaign, if they want to volunteer, if they want to follow your journey, where can the people get in contact with you?
Yep. So everything is at marysheffield.com, MarySheffield, marysheffield.com. Everything is there.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. So make sure that y'all tap in with City Council President Mary Sheffield. We want to thank you once again for joining us here on the podcast. Really grateful for your time. I love the ambition to be able to go after history and to shake some things up, keep pressing these people and shaking them down while you're part of the City Council. And love the fact that you have dedicated yourself to trying to make the city a better place.
I appreciate that. And thank you for what you're doing. You're very well prepared, and you're a very good interviewer. I appreciate that. So you got to keep up the good work too. So
thank you. That's on camera too. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Enjoyed it.
Everybody watching and listening, we'll tap in with y'all soon. Peace.